Have you handled and shot a 1911? I don't care how customized or plain Jane a 1911 is. Handling and shooting a 1911 is like shooting a piece of history. 1911-based pistols have come a long way since the beginning, having been handled and used during war and peace by better folks than I, and some worse. Unit cost of the original M1911 and M1911A1 is $26.38 in 1938. In today's terms, that would be around $571 US, and some 1911 pistols can be had for around that same price even today. In fact, one can be found for less if you explore Armscor out of the Philippines and TSOS out of Turkey for base GI 1911 models. The beauty of the 1911 is the natural point and shoot capability and relative accuracy, a foundation upon which award-winning 1911 pistols have been built, many of which started life as a basic GI model. The 1911 is, in my humble opinion, the most customizable handgun made, after which may prove to be more reliable and accurate than was originally designed. But I have to say here that I have handled and shot box stock over-the-counter 1911 pistols that put many polymer wonder pistols to shame. And speaking of that, let's see how the Norinco copy of the 1911A1 shoots in my hands. I had no idea what I was in for. This pistol had not been fired since the day that I purchased it. I had numerous magazines stored with it, but the only magazine that actually had a manufacturer's name attached to it was a Wilson Combat magazine that I threw in at the last minute. The trigger is a standard short trigger, and which is one that I am not used to, and point of aim was going to be questionable. That is something that I can adjust. Ammunition was standard 230 grain FMJ from MagTech. I was hoping that there would be no issue there. Let's just run it and see. Note that no hollow point defensive ammunition is being put through it, as this is a copy of the 1911A1, and that pistol never saw modern defensive ammunition unless it was heavily modified in later life. Well, there you go. Aside from 2 instances of the slide locking back prematurely, functioning was perfect. Not bad for a Chinese copy of one of the most iconic firearms in history. I started my point of aim at 6 o'clock on the bullseye, but moved it up a bit a little later in the shooting. Bullet impacts were a hair high, but headshots fell right into about where I had hoped they would be. I did find myself wanting a beaver tail grip safety, as I have grown accustomed to them. My shooting hand crept upon the frame extension during firing, but the shooting glove kept me from experiencing any hammer bite that would have added a scar or two in addition to what I have in the fleshy part of the thumb area. The natural point of aim of a 1911 is hard to dispute, given its ergonomics and feel in the hand. The trigger pull was short, something that I am also not accustomed to, but all worked out well. This Chinese copy of the 1911 A1 has a trigger better than some of the newer and more advanced 1911s that I have fired. All in all, I chalk this range day up with the Norinco model of the 1911 A1 as a positive experience.